What's up everybody, welcome back to the channel. And you know how I recommended that Beidou and the Electro Traveler would be great teammates for the Raiden Shogun in my pre-analysis team comps video? Well, that turned out to be completely wrong because their elemental bursts don't get triggered during Raiden's elemental burst. There's some weird magic going on here so it doesn't get triggered, and I guess it is up for debate on who's broken here really. Is it the Raiden herself or is it Beidou and Electro MC? But at the end of the day, the point is that they don't work with each other. And it really doesn't make sense why these elemental bursts wouldn't work with the Raiden Shogun's elemental burst. After all, Beidou's burst triggers on hitting an enemy and not actually dealing damage. You can even go ahead and test this yourself. I'm showing you footage here of me hitting a mage and I'm proccing elemental reactions with Beidou's elemental burst. So when we take a look at Mihoyo's explanation for why this doesn't work, it also doesn't really quite make much sense. I'll go ahead and read this here. It's quite the long paragraph, so bear with me. In version 2.1, the new event exclusive 5-star character, the Raiden Shogun, will be available in the event wish. It should be noted that the attacks by the Raiden Shogun in the Musou Ishin state is a special kind of attack. It is considered a normal attack in terms of its movement type, but the damage dealt is considered elemental burst damage. So those two things are going to be very important things to remember: the movement type and the damage type. In the Musou Ishin state, Raiden Shogun will attack with a sword. These attacks are considered normal attacks at this time, thus they can trigger the effects associated with normal attack movement types. For example, the increase in normal attack speed granted by the weapon's skyward spine, the consecutive sword rain attacks by Xingqiu's elemental burst, or the coordinated attacks by Fischl at Constellation level 1, etc, etc. But at the same time, the damage dealt by the Raiden Shogun sword, while in this state, is considered elemental burst damage. Therefore, these attacks can trigger effects associated with elemental burst damage or benefit from an increase in elemental burst damage. For example, 4-piece Emblem of Severed Fate or the 2-piece Noblesse Oblige artifact set bonus is going to increase the damage she deals while in this state. On the contrary, the effects caused via damage dealt by normal, charge, or plunging attacks are ineffective in this case. These effects that cannot be triggered include the charge attack damage provided by the 4-piece set bonus of the Bloodstained Chivalry set, and the effect that triggers a vacuum blade via normal and charge attack damage for the weapon's skyward spine, etc, etc. So notice that Mihoyo did not mention Beidou in this statement at all, so it's really hard to determine why exactly Beidou is not working with the Raiden Shogun. Now apparently in the beta test, the interaction with Beidou's ultimate and Raiden's ultimate did work. I saw a lot of comments saying that that was true, but there is actually no footage or evidence of this, so you want to take those comments with a grain of salt. Those comments could just be part of an internet echo chamber to make this look worse than it actually is, and unless a credible leaker or beta tester actually tweets or gives evidence of this interaction happening in the beta, I am personally going to stay skeptical on that interaction. The thing that we really want to pull out of this statement is that it's the damage type that restricts the usage of the Raiden's elemental burst. So I'll say that one more time. It's the damage type that is restricting us from using certain characters with the Raiden Shogun. This means anything related to normal charge plunging attack damage, and specifically damage, will not be procced by the Raiden's burst. Let's take a closer look at the descriptions for Beidou's burst and the Electro MC's burst. It says that all you need to do is hit enemies. So this wording is obviously not very clear. It could mean so many different kinds of things. It could mean that we have to deal damage, or it could not mean that we have to deal damage. It could also mean that we could hit shields and it would still proc, or maybe not. Point is, hitting an enemy is not 100% clear, so we actually need to go and test that. And I'll show you the testing that I did for this in just a second. Other similar skills is Xingqiu's Rain Swords, and that was addressed in the statement. So obviously, this is going to be triggered by the Raiden's ult, and the wording in here does say it's triggered by normal attacks and not either by damage or hitting enemies. You simply just have to execute the normal attack. So it does make sense that this would work. Now let's just explore Mihoyo's wording a little bit more. We're gonna take a look at Beidou's E skill. It says that the transient blossoms are triggered by damage. So this is very clear. It's not going to work against shields, and you actually have to see a damage number appear on the screen for it to proc. Raiden's E skill also uses the same wording, where it must be triggered by dealing damage. So this is again very clear. This is absolutely not going to be working against shields, and you actually need to see a damage number for it to proc. So clearly Mihoyo has a distinction between between dealing damage and hitting enemies. I'm gonna take my Beidou against some Abyss Mages, and you can very clearly see that we are triggering elemental reactions from Beidou's elemental burst. You can also hear the sound effect of the electricity triggering every time we use a normal attack.
Power that ended Haishan!
So what this means is that the wording of hitting enemies does not mean we have to deal damage. This interaction with the Abyss Mages right here is just 1000% proof. So why isn't this working with the Raiden Shogun? Is this some intentional design specifically for Beidou and the Electro MC to limit the Raiden Shogun's team comps? It really doesn't make any sense, and it needs to be changed. But how does Mihoyo go about making that change? Is this a change that needs to be done on the Raiden Shogun side, or is this a change that needs to happen on Beidou and the Electro main character side? This one is definitely up for debate and discussion, but I do think changing the interaction of how Beidou and Electro MC's elemental burst works would be the better option to make it work with the Raiden's elemental burst. There's one more interaction that I wanted to tell you that doesn't work, and that's that the Electro MC's Electro Amulets won't increase the Raiden's electro damage bonus even though your energy recharge gets increased. This was true with the Emblem of Severed Fate, so this was kind of expected. But not everyone knows that, so I thought I'd let you know. So guys, I think that this really does need to be changed. Let your friends know by sharing this video to inform them that this interaction really doesn't make any sense. We really need to make our voices heard and gain enough traction on this issue so that Mihoyo actually makes changes. Anyway guys, this is the end of the video. Until next time, I will see you guys later.